and Max. Max and Ruby. Ruby and
It was just this Christmas that went by, and things were getting busy. I had to start buying presents for the family. I had finished shopping, but I still need to grab a present for my little cousin. She is not very hard to shop for since she was 4. She likes things like Peppa Pig and My Little Pony. She really and I say like for a reason, Max and Ruby. So when I decided to go look for a present, I figured something like a Max and Ruby DVD would have been perfect, since she liked to watch it on a daily basis. However, Christmas meant that most of the online DVDs were sold out on most places. I went to look on eBay as well, but I figured I couldn't not trust what conditions the DVDs would have been in, so I was stuck in a run for a little while until the package arrived. I was at home still scrolling for a stupid DVD until I heard the sound of something being pushed into my letterbox. I caught a hold of it before my dog did and look at the package. It seems to be wrapped fairly badly with what looked like grease marks and stains on it. Naturally, like anyone would, I decided to open the package. Inside was something that I couldn't explain. It was a Max and Ruby DVD, but I had not seen one like it online. It was like some little kid had drawn on the front cover with a marker. The title was just said Max and Ruby, with what looked like a poorly drawn illustration of Max and Ruby on the front. There were no names or anything, but on the back it had a list of 4 episodes, all with blurred titles. Episode 01, Episode 02, Episode 03, and Episode 04. I gave the DVD a watch over, and to my surprise, the episodes were all perfect quality and seemed to have no flaws, as if it was a real DVD, just with a homemade cover. The only thing I thought was odd that the episode selection screen, the episode had names, but they were all called Max and Ruby 1, with the numbers being changed as it went down the list. The actual selection screen was just a plain white screen with black text with the episode list and nothing else. After I gave it much thought, I decided to change the cover to something a little nicer by printing out a DVD cover that I had found on Google and tracking down the names of the episode so they were labeled right. I left the episode list screen alone because I figured it was self-explanatory. Christmas went by and things were fine. I gave my little cousin for her DVD and she was happy with it. Although Christmas, but that was only because she had not watched it yet. On Boxing Day, the family had gone out for a meal and left me to babysit my cousin. I was not too bothered about being left alone at home. I figured now was a good time to put on a DVD for her. I had put the DVD in and let it play while I was in the kitchen eating my dinner. For what I could hear, she had watched episodes 1, 2, 3 so far. I was just about to finish off my noodles when I heard my cousin screaming from the other room. Dropping everything, I had ran into the living room and saw my cousin curled up in the floor screaming. I had looked up at the TV and I felt my heart in my throat. What I caught was the most disturbing thing that I had ever seen. It was what appears to be the frame of Max and Ruby sitting next to each other in complete dark. But what made it so horrible was their lack of faces. They had lost their noses and mouths, and their eyes were replaced with a big black holes. The color were a disgusting blood red, and there was a faint static in the background. The sound was replaced with what sounded like Max and Ruby's theme playing in reverse, with a faint sound of static in the mix of it all. It had to be the most disturbing thing I had ever seen, and it must have been on the screen for at least 20 seconds before the screen went to black and the DVD turned off, which alone was weird because DVDs don't usually turn off by themselves. I was able to calm my cousin down, telling her it's not real, and she had just had a nightmare as she had fallen asleep in front of a TV. However, I knew in my mind it was completely real. My parents had woke me up and told me that they were going to be out all night, so this was going to be the best opportunity to look at this DVD more closely. I don't mention it to them. As soon as they hung up, I grabbed the DVD and stuck it on my laptop. As soon as it loaded, I noticed that episode 004 was now replaced with Rest in Peace, Mommy and Daddy, which sent chills down my back. Since my cousin was now asleep, I plugged into my earbuds so she can sleep without having to hear anything. Normally, the episode of Max and Ruby would have 3 short stories, but this episode had only had 1. It started off quite lighthearted. Max and Ruby playing tag in the garden, and their parents were on the porch watching them play. However, something was off. The sound was playing in reverse, and the parents' faces were that of sadness. A film grim become apparent, which grew worse and worse every second, and it panned to the mother and father, and in a voice deep sorrow, the father spoke.
It's such a shame.
Then, short of sound of static and a large scream, followed by a sound of 2 people choking while mother and father mumbled to each other in the background. There was a pause between the stand-up. The sounds were so realistic. It made me almost physically sick. The screen cut to white for a split second, and then the screen transited over to Max and Ruby sitting in the front what looks like a gravestone labeled, "Rest in peace, Mommy and Daddy." The 2 of them had no faces. At this point, there were no sound. From the faint static, this scene reminded me on the screen for about a minute and a half before it cut away to black. And then it changed the scene again, now showing Max and Ruby sitting in Ruby's room, while undecipherable whispering became apparent and grew louder over time. Both of them were sobbing uncontrollably, while transparent clips of murder playing in reverse flashed on the screen. The father pulled a knife out of his neck, pick up a bloody axe, and hack away at the corpse of the mother. Before she came back to life, she walked up the stairs. Max walked up the stairs. By this point, the whispering became louder, but more of the whispering voice started to disappear. In the very second, it came down to one voice. It was a rather angry woman's voice who screamed,
Burn in hell.
I was absolutely terrified. The scene had changed to the most disgusting yet saddest thing I have ever witnessed. It showed Max sitting in his room. He was sitting on a chair with a hanging from the ceiling. He had brought it around his neck. The screen faded to black and the static grew louder almost instantly, and then it cut to Ruby walking in her brother's room. She let out a gut-twisting scream. The camera was panned on her face as it sounds like of a chair being kicked as the same choking before began to play. The picture of Ruby's face stayed on the screen for a good 5 minutes. This time, her eyes had returned as the same gaping holes. Ruby then started crying, and as before, there were no other facial features. The static grew loudly and drained out of the sound of her cries. The scene cut to black with a loud static. When the screen returned, Ruby was sitting, now her own, in the garden by 2 gravestones. One was labeled, "Rest in peace, Mommy and Daddy," and the other, "Rest in peace, Max." Brother. She then started to look at the camera with glowing blue pupils and speak to me.
Whoever's watching this is because you would never watch any of me and my brother's episodes. So one of these days, you will regret this.
The screen had faded to black afterwards. At this point, I had already been sick and was sitting down all shaken. The episode seemed to have come to an end at last. As Max and Ruby theme song played slowly in reverse, I was about to eject the DVD when the same image came up like it did on the TV. This time, however, there was a text above the two rabbits that said, "Death is our only release." There were no credits or anything else. It stayed on us for a few seconds before the DVD finally popped out of my laptop. I sat there trying to compilate what had happened. In my shock and fear, I made a stupid decision to break the DVD up as much as I could before leaving the house. Shoved the pieces down the drain. Thankfully, I kept a few screenshots and saved them to my laptop. The next couple of days went past without anything unusual happening. I had a few nightmares about the DVD, but luckily, that was all. My cousin had gone back home along with the rest of the family. It was late at night, and my parents had gone out for dinner, leaving me to watch TV. I heard what sounded like someone's posting something through the door. At this point, the DVD had left my mind since I had not told anyone about it. However, it all come flooding back when I looked down at the letter in front of me. It was just messily folded up. It read, "Death is our only release."